So the title of this discussion is This Might Just Be Royale High's Deathbed, and today we're going to talk about this post that was created by a Reddit user where they talk about their thoughts as to how other games may be potentially replacing Royale High. And I want to be very quick and honest with my opinion is that Royale High will always have a place of Roblox and no game can replace Royale High, and I'm very firm in that belief. I think other games that are in a similar niche coming into the space does not mean that Royale High will inherently be destroyed, but at the same time this is labeled as a discussion, and I think it's important to read other people's perspectives and talk about it. Now, out of respect for these people, I do not show their usernames, do not try to find these people, but if it's posted publicly, I have a right to look at it, so keep that in mind. Now, this person writes, this might just be Royale High's deathbed, and they have this message here, which I'm going to see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I can, perfect. But they include a screenshot of Monsterverse, and they were basically showing their sneak peeks of the game. So they write, we all know Royale High isn't the best anymore, but I think the new campus is the stake to the heart. I have a lot of friends I've made on Royale High, and all of them, including myself, are going to put our daily streak on vacation mode for a while and find other games. The one reason I think Royale High still has even the few, I think they meant to say, few players left is because there are no other games as good as it is. As bad as it is, there is no other well-known competition until Monsterverse. It looks exactly like Royale High, except better. If you follow them on Twitter, you'll see they already have multiple different body types, skinny, chubby for both feminine and masculine. We know Royale High has trouble with that. Everything about it just gives off Royale High vibes, except better. And the content is also going to be voice acted. They made a post looking for black female voice actors, and they made a post teasing its release. This is competition we've needed, something to finally release us, at the very least, something to give Barbie a good shake and realize she has to actually fix up her own game. And it will be at least trying out Monsterverse the moment it comes out. Like I said, it's Royale High, but better. Think Royale High plus Monster High combination. To me, that sounds amazing. It's the same idea at campus life. They're going to be dorms, so that there's going to be classes, cafeterias, school gates, and wait, an entire town to explore. This is our moment. This is what we've, or at least I, have been waiting for. And they're releasing it in about a month or two. Royale High has already driven away countless of its players, and they'll continue to do so if they don't get their together. Those players need somewhere else to go. I mean, just look at the photos they attached. Are you seeing this, people? Which this Reddit post got a lot of traction, and unfortunately, this is no hate to this person. I think people are entitled to their opinions, and even, at times I kind of share the same sentiment. However, I think it's important that when we uplift certain games, we don't have to bring down other games, I think there's almost this sort of perception that in order for us to talk about how we like Monsterverse or how we like another dress-up game like Dress to Impress, we have to put another game down and say Monsterverse, or Royale High, this game's so bad. But Dress to Impress or Monsterverse, this game's great. And I understand that, that's just human nature to compare things, and I think that's a valid opinion to have. However, when you're constantly not necessarily talking poorly about, but comparing games to each other and saying, look, they're the same, not only is it harmful to Royale High, but it's also harmful to Monsterverse, because Monsterverse is getting non-stop harassment from people being like, you copied Royale High, when the only real similarity is that they take place in a school. And I did make a video talking about the screenshots people have posted with direct comparisons, and there are some aspects that are similar, sure, but at the same time, having a water fountain in a school is not something that was thought of by Royale High and stuff like that, and it unfortunately creates this weird, unneeded tension between the developers, where they're having to come out and say, like, no, we don't have beef, and it just puts people, like, in a bad situation. It makes them feel awkward. I think that's definitely not good. I think you are allowed to like a game, you're allowed to be frustrated with other games, but the need to constantly compare and be like, this game's better than this, and this is better than that, I think it's a little bit toxic. But however, I do want to say that this person was pretty respectful with their commentary. They could have been a lot harsher, so I think that is definitely a good point here. Now, this person says, dude, I'm really so hyped for Monsterverse. It's insane. I want to play so bad. The body types and different species says monster body types. Like, come on, man. I love it. Plus, I love how Monsterverse doesn't exclude mask players by adding lots of mask options. As much as I do have a spot for Royale High, but after really reading other people's views of new campus and actually talking more than I'm going to join real quick, look at it, I think the game is unfortunately not going to recover. This person says, do they have a height slider? I'm already convinced, but I just want to know because I want to be a tall girly. This person says, I don't think they have, and I feel like it'd be kind of difficult to make sure every clothes fits every height, but they have different height bodies later. And this person says, do you know what's coming out? So Monsterverse does have quite a few, editing features, like you can move accessories around and stuff like that. It's actually very, very cool. However, I do want to say here that I don't think Royale High isn't going to recover. And I know, I've been critical of Royale High, but being critical of a game does not mean that I can't still enjoy a game or I can't still like a game. And I think that Royale High, the kind of landscape of Roblox and with Monsterverse coming out has almost kind of created this like revival in the dress up space. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because People seem to think that when there's competition, people are going to quit and give up. But competition, you know, creates a lot of creativity. And it makes people want to do their absolute best and try harder. And like example, if you've ever made YouTube videos and you notice someone making similar videos to yours, you know, they're getting way more views. And you start looking at their content, you're like, oh, they do this, and then you start doing it. That doesn't mean that you're copying them. That just means that you recognize, okay, there's like a similarity here. This person's performing really well. I want to perform well too, so I'm going to kind of do what they do. And I think it's, you know, unfortunate that people see that or are sharing the narrative that Monsterverse existing is just going to take Royale High out, because I don't think that that's the case. However, you know, I understand how people may be upset that two games can exist and I guess don't want to pick between the two, but at the same time, I don't think that either game is going to take each other out. I think they're both going to exist, but you know, friendly competition is nothing that people should shy away from. And I think as long as stuff isn't becoming toxic or nasty or hateful, or there isn't like direct copying and stuff like that, I think it's great to have more games in the space, because it gives players more opportunities to enjoy Roblox, more opportunities to meet new people, and it also encourages other game developers to try new things and to, you know, explore different methods and see, oh, this game added this feature, I think that's cool, I'm gonna look into that, stuff like that, where it just encourages people to learn. And I think that's the best thing, is when everybody's learning and everybody's trying to do new things, that's what matters. It doesn't matter if there's two games that exist in the same niche, like everybody will survive, life goes on. This person says, man, if I see this game compared to Royale High saying it's a copy, I'm gonna lose it because it's clearly inspired by Monster High. If you played Monster High New Ghoul at school with a 3DS or Wii U, the game gives a similar vibe with the dress-up aspect. Not everything is a Royale High copy, which I agree with what this person's saying. This guy said, no, the main backlash from the game is that it is a Royale High copy, which is stupid. Royale High doesn't have a monopoly on fantasy dress-up games. Like you said, I'm getting more of a Monster High feel from it, and if it was a copy of Royale High, you can't even be mad at it because of how good it looks. Most copies are trash remakes of one game, but this one has its own thing. Even if it did take inspo from Royale High, it did not copy. It's its own thing with its own experiences, and oh my god, I'm so hyped. This person says, I am too. I'm curious how the fighting mechanics work. I wonder if they work like Infinity Nikki, where each set has its own powers and you have a normal system with basic fighting with dress up, which that's actually a very cool little thought there. I never thought of that. That's actually really cool. But yeah, I think the main thing I've been seeing is people comparing the games, and to be fair, I'm guilty of this. I did compare them in the past, I'm sorry. But you know, I think it's natural to compare things, and obviously my intention was not to be hateful when comparing, but just to talk about, you know, some similarities and differences and stuff like that, and talk about why I think both games can coexist. And I do think it's unfortunate that players are trying really, really hard to pin these games against each other, basically spreading the narrative that Monsterverse is going to destroy Royale High, which in turn makes OG Royale High fans and supporters upset with Monsterverse, and then Monsterverse fans are upset because they feel like their game's getting attacked, and so it's mainly just the fan bases that are beefing. To my understanding, Peach and her dev team and the co-owner Vivi Vai, they have no beef with Barbie. To my understanding, from what I've seen, they have absolutely no issue with each other, and it's just like completely community fabricated drama, which has existed since this game was announced. And I understand, obviously, people may think that games are similar, and that's okay, but we don't need to be accusing people of stuff or stirring up drama. Games can coexist together, and I think what's awesome is that players from Monsterverse and Royale High probably have similar interests, so you may actually realize that people from Royale High or people from Monsterverse could actually be great people to play with on Roblox. Now, not to get parasocial with it, but you know, like if you play similar games, you probably have similar interests, and that could mean that you guys could explore the two games together and not have to fight all the time. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think it's terrible that there's a new game in the dress-up space? Is it going to completely ruin other games? What is your thoughts on this? Let me know, and maybe let me know what you think the player base can do to help decrease the amount of toxicity, because I feel like there's toxicity pretty equally on both sides, and we really just need to come together to support each other, because there's no need for competition. You know, it's friendly competition. It's not like we're like fighting and fist fighting and one person has to come out on top. Both games can coexist. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.